Hello, it's 2:30 in the afternoon, and I'm Alexandra Kazia with Rahul Gupta and Laura Godfrey. In the weather, it's a clear, sunny 2 degrees outside our East York studios. Now here are the headlines. South Africa bans the Dalai Lama until after the World Cup to prevent tensions over the issue with Tibet. Perhaps YouTube and Facebook can make a difference. Fox News host apologized to Canadian troops for insulting their efforts in Afghanistan. And after some violence has started spilling over into the U.S. from the Mexican border, the Obama administration is planning to send more federal agents to the border for preventative measures. Now here's the top story. The South African government will not welcome or allow the Dalai Lama until after the 2010 World Cup. Because of this, an international peace conference is now postponed until further notice. Published reports say that the government thinks his presence will not only spark tensions regarding the matter with Tibet. Presidential spokesperson Masabi says if the Dalai Lama attends, then Tibet becomes the issue, and South Africa is no longer the issue. Many, like Nobel Prize winner laureate Desmond Tutu, refuse to attend because of this. Without naming South Africa, a Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman said China appreciated the efforts made by all nations that support China's sovereignty and territorial integrity and oppose Tibetan independence. South Africa is China's largest African trading partner. Published reports said Fox News host Greg Gutfeld made an apology for his remarks that bashed the Canadian military and their efforts in Afghanistan. Despite the deaths of over 116 Canadian soldiers serving in Afghanistan, Gutfeld and his panel on the satirical news show Red Eye joked that they didn't even know Canada had deployed any soldiers there. That was the same weekend 4 Canadian soldiers were killed in Kandahar. They further remarked on Canada's ability to take time off from military duties because they reside next to what they referred to as the most powerful country in the universe. After the late-night airing, many Canadians posted the video on their Facebook page and on YouTube, making over 3,000 comments calling for a public apology. Gutfeld's apology stated that it was not his intention to disrespect the brave men, women, and families of the Canadian military, and for that he apologizes. Lieutenant Colonel Gary Bleckensop from Edmonton, Alberta, said the comment is just immature. The Obama administration is sending more federal agents to the Mexican border in attempts to stop drug-related violence from entering U.S. territory. The states of Arizona and Texas were already calling for the presence of soldiers to assist in crimes by drug cartels that are spilling onto their southwest cities. One of the measures being taken is an increased use of advanced X-ray technology at the border. The machine works like a virtual strip search, revealing anything carried underneath clothing. According to published reports, Obama said he is going to be working with President Calderon in Mexico to figure out how to get control over the border that's become more violent because of the drug trade. And we'll have to combine that with the cracking down on employees who are exploiting undocumented workers. A public discussion on image manipulation in advertising has led to some starting insights into the advertising industry in Canada. A recent survey shows Canadians have an overwhelming distaste for manipulated images in advertising, but very few complain to Advertising Standards Canada, or ASC, on the subject, even though this is a crucial step towards industry control. Andrew Hood has the report.
Last fall, we were able to include a question about photo recycling in advertising in a national poll.
That was Nicole Cohen, a director of community activist group Media Action. The group published the results of the study on image manipulation in advertising just in time for a public discussion on Thursday. The study shows that about 70% of Canadians consider digital enhancement unacceptable in beauty product advertising. And yet many Canadians don't realize they have to complain about advertisements that break the rules. Otherwise the ads won't be stopped or even noticed by ASC. Linda Nagel of ASC explains.
In order to put the code into action, in terms of portrayal, for example, you actually have to complain.
Media Action member Sherry Graydon says a complaint she made led to a mascara advertisement being discontinued.
I think every ad for beauty products that feature an airbrushed image using the amazing technology that I've been showed us falls into the same category.
ASC determined eyelash inserts were used to produce the ad, and therefore it was misleading. Graydon feels the decision for the mascara ad should apply to all manipulation in advertisements for beauty products. If this became the standard, major change would be seen in the advertising industry and maybe in society's view of beauty. It's possible, but first Canadians have to step up in their role and get complaining. Andrew Hood, Observer Radio News, Toronto.
Alaska has been forced to suspend flights due to a volcanic eruption. Mount Redoubt, near Anchorage, has been relatively dormant for over 20 years, and now for the past few weeks has been spewing ash into the air so high that flights are cancelled and residents are very worried. And that's it for the news. Now here's Rahul with sports.
Thanks, Alex. And good afternoon, everyone. Chris Bosh responded to his former girlfriend's allegations that he's a deadbeat dad. Bosh, the four-time All-Star and U.S. Olympian, said to reporters after practice that he's always taking care of his responsibilities and still respects the mother of his infant daughter. Allison Mathis, Bosh's former live-in girlfriend, filed court papers in Maryland that allege the Raptor forward refused to provide financial support for their daughter Trinity, born earlier this year. Mathis claims that Bosh agreed to pay for fertility drugs so that she could get pregnant, but ended their relationship before she had even given birth. Now, Mathis lives with her mother in a cramped apartment in Maryland. According to the court documents, she suffered health problems from the pregnancy and is financially destitute. Mathis wants child support and sole custody from Bosh, who is expected to earn $14 million U.S. this season. The best player in the NHL this season is in town tonight. Alexander Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals will attempt to pad their division lead as they face the Toronto Maple Leafs. In a league full of milquetoast personalities, the Russian's forward's charisma has made him a lightning rod for criticism. Most recently, Don Cherry, hardly a wallflower himself, accused Ovechkin of showboating during his flamboyant goal celebrations. But Ovechkin isn't the only Cap the Leafs need to fear. Mike Green leads all NHL defensemen with 64 points. The Caps are looking to avenge a 2-1 loss to the Buds in early March. The puck drops at the ACC at 7 p.m. In a development sure to warm Leafs fans' hearts, Montreal Canadiens owner George Gillette may be forced to sell the team. Gillette, the first U.S.-born owner to own the Canadiens, reportedly lost a chunk of his family fortune thanks to the credit crunch. He commissioned a financial review of his financial portfolio that also includes the English Premiership team Liverpool. While Gillette has denied that he's selling the team, President Pierre Boivin admitted that it could be a possibility. Things can't get much worse for the Habs, who went into their 100th season thinking Stanley Cup. Instead, they've lost 5 in a row and are in danger of missing the playoffs. It was the last time they would see the floor at Centennial's Dell Gym, but that milestone didn't help the Colts men's basketball team last night, and that's despite a huge performance by their star point guard. With the story, here's Tristan Carter.
The Centennial Colts men's basketball team lost to the Fleming Knights 91-89, while Colts point guard Roderick Robinson scored a game-high 37. Robinson barely missed the last-second shot that would have won the game. The Knights hit a pair of free throws the play before to put them up by 2. Fleming got to the line after a controversial foul call. Centennial coach Ro Russell had some criticism of the way the game was called.
Basically, the referees took the game out of our hands. It's hard to say that. And if I get fined for it, I don't care. You know, we busted our butt off the whole game. Everybody sucked it up. We lost a couple guys on eligibility, and they beat us by a lot up in their place, and we came, we were ready for them, we prepared for them. And we're right down to the last second, and the referee had to take the game into his own hand rather than let us play the game out like it's supposed to be played.
Russell also thought his team would have done better if it was at full strength. Coach starter Marlon McLean struggled with foul trouble the whole game. They've also lost a number of players, but not because of injuries. Russell says he kicked one player off the team after the last game.
We warned him that he's under zero tolerance coming into the last game that he played, and he was verbally abusing players and being very obnoxious in the game, and so we decided that enough was enough. We had to, take him away from the team so we can have a better chemistry for the team.
This season has been hard on the Colts. They stand at 5-3 right now as they play the final game ever at the Dell Gym. It's being closed and the college is building a new one next year. Tristan Carter, Observer Radio News, Toronto.
It isn't often that figure skaters engage in trash talk, but that's the case between two contenders on the eve of a major skating competition. The World Figure Skating Championships get underway in LA tonight, and Patrick Chan of Toronto and France's Brian Joubert are involved in a war of words. Chan responded to comments made by the former world champion Joubert that skaters who can't pull off a quadruple axel jump are not worthy of the gold medal. Joubert made the comment in response to Canadian Jeffrey Buttle's win at last year's Worlds. Yesterday, Chan fired back. He calls Joubert's comments unreasonable since few people can pull off a quad. Chan and Joubert and the rest of the men's competitors will start their programs Saturday. And that's the sports story. Stay with us after the break when Laura Godfrey takes a look at the latest entertainment stories.
I had the sweats. I was nervous. I thought it was some kind of flu bug or something I ate. I'm only 38. Play golf whenever I can. I cut down on smoking and I'm not that much overweight. Anyway, the chest pain. It was like someone was standing on my chest. I could hardly catch my breath, so my neighbor says, "I'm calling an ambulance." Stupid me, I'm still going, nah, 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 I'll be all right. It's just gas pains. Only now the pain starts spreading to my shoulder and neck, then my arm. So finally I say, okay, call the ambulance. I got to the hospital and they stopped the heart attack. I mean, as fast as it started, with this new treatment that dissolves blood clots. Here's the real kicker. The treatment is so new, it's not available everywhere. Guess it was my lucky day.
Welcome back and good afternoon, everyone. In a sad case of history repeating itself, son of famed author and poet Sylvia Plath has committed suicide. It was 46 years ago that Plath gassed herself in her own home while her children slept. Now, Alaska State Troopers have reported that Nicholas Hughes hanged himself in his Alaska home on March 16th. Hughes, a fisheries biologist, was the only member of his immediate family not to become a poet. His sister, poet Frida Hughes, said he had been battling depression for some time. And in local goings-on, the Toronto District School Board recently announced it would keep The Handmaid's Tale in classrooms. The following week, authors and publishers came together to celebrate Freedom to Read Week in Toronto. At an event called Band Together, children's authors read from books that have been pulled from classrooms and libraries around the world. Laura Willis has the report.
In my naivete, I thought I'd written a fable about standing up to bullies, but people quickly saw through this pathetic, pusillanimous pretense. The book was removed from a number of libraries in Alberta and California because it contained excessive violence and also, in at least one case, because it clearly promoted cannibalism.
Acclaimed children's poet Dennis Lee read from Lizzie's Lion. Lee's reading was part of a fundraiser for PEN Canada held at the Revival nightclub. The event brought children's authors and publishers together to protest against censorship. Susan Shipton is the past president of IBI Canada, a division of the International Board on Books for Young People. Shipton says that today's children are tomorrow's writers, editors, publishers, and journalists. She feels that the industry will suffer if children aren't provoked by what they read.
Our book industry cannot hand over its legacy to people who will never be challenged by books like this, and for whom reading has always been easy and comfortable and predictable.
Children's author Helene Becker agrees. She says that parents who protest books in schools are harming their children's development.
Children who are the ones that are our future and the ones that are learning the most and are the most open are being prevented from having access to whatever they would like by people who think that they know better. And many of them don't.
Laura Willis, Observer Radio News, Toronto.
And in Kiefer Sutherland news, the Toronto-raised actor will be back to play Jack Bauer for the 8th season of 24. After years of heavy drinking and reckless behavior, Sutherland says he has turned his life around. Sutherland has also proven he will not be typecast by his serious role as a government agent. He provided the voice for a very different government worker, General W.R. Monger, in Monsters vs. Aliens. The 3D animated comedy hits silver screens this Friday. And that's today's entertainment. Now let's send it back to Alexandra for the wrap.
Thanks, Laura. And that's the news for now. You can hear more news coming up in about 15 minutes on the internet and on ondemand.centennialcollege.ca. On behalf of all of us here at Observer Radio News, thanks for listening and have a great afternoon.